Our special guest tonight for Kwanzaa on night two, as we discuss Kujichagulia, self determination, is none other than Dr. George Love. George learned Iyengar yoga from his favorite aunt, who had a yoga studio in her home. He worked at New York Health and Racquet Club in the late 70s as a fitness trainer and yoga teacher for 5 years. He learned Tai Chi in Central Park and was invited to classes at the UN, where he met the Dalai Lama. And that led to his studying Tibetan medicine with the Dalai Lama's personal physician. Now, after discovering acupuncture and acupressure and graduating in 1981, he was employed with Lincoln Hospital in the Bronx doing drug detox with auricular therapy and acupuncture. Now, this is where he connected with Professor John B.Y. Lee, who's also known as Li Bing Yuan of Beijing. He followed the professor to Chinatown, where he worked and studied Qigong and Taoist and Buddhist medicine. Under Professor Lee's tutelage, George received his Doctor of Oriental Medicine degree from Ju Shi Lin Taoist Scholars Council in 1986. He has studied and taught Ayurveda, Unani Tib, Four Treaties, Quantum, and West African nature healing. And his interests have led him to the origin of medicine in ancient Egypt, more properly called Kemet. Please, please, please welcome to our Kwanzaa celebration the dedicated international lecturer, teacher, author of 10 books, Dr. George Love. Here he is, friends. I'm so excited that you are here. Dr. Love, I'm going to give you the floor for a few minutes just to tell us more about who you are and your space in the world.
Well, that's it's kind of an open-ended. So let me just dive right in. Two of my uncles were medical doctors. My father's a PhD in science education. So I grew up in kind of a medical scientific background. And I was always looking for what was going to help. And I had an uncle on each side of the family die of a heart attack at 49. So I was
Mm,
totally scared. I said, how am I going to grow up and I'm going to die at 49 because I have a family history on both sides with this heart disease. So there's got to be something about heart disease, especially since my last name is Love. That's my real name. I'm the fifth George Love and the third Dr. Love in my family. So that was already preordained. So I decided to go after alternative medicine and particularly acupuncture. So when I met the Dalai Lama's personal physician and I started studying Tibetan medicine for a year, and then he got recalled to the refugee camp in India, then I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? And then I read this newspaper article about a guy treating racehorses with acupuncture. I said, well, let me track him down. And then he says, oh, you're in luck. I just opened up a school in Montreal. It's the first acupuncture school in all of North America. That was 1979. In 1980, the first one opened up in California in the US. But I went to acupuncture school in 79. There was nobody doing acupuncture that I knew of before 1979. Little did I know that there was already a Black presence in Harlem doing acupuncture for drug addiction since 1974. I had no idea. So when I showed up on the scene in 1981, there was already this huge community of African acupuncturists. But New York Health and Hospitals Corporation opened up a methadone clinic right around from Lincoln Hospital. And that methadone clinic was an immediately ideological clash with acupuncture that was actually revolutionary medicine. So there turned out to be a series of confrontations. Mutulu Shakur, who was Tupac Shakur's stepfather, got arrested, and everybody was picked up, and they closed the clinic 1 year before I actually showed up on the scene. So here I am, completely thinking I'm the first Black acupuncturist in Harlem, not knowing this other thing had been going on. So I met Master Lee working at Lincoln Hospital, and he said, quit there, come work for me. And for the next 6 years, I apprenticed to Master Lee, learning medical Qigong and how to emit Qi from the hands and how to heal people. At the same time, I was learning Japanese medicine, and I was learning Chinese dietary therapy, and I was learning Buddhist medicine. So I was learning all these things all at the same time so that I could bring this to my community in Harlem so we could raise the level of health in the community. And as luck would have it, I had a TV show, I had a radio show, I was on a talk circuit all throughout the 80s. And then in 1989, I moved to Miami, Florida. And that's where I've been for the last 40 years. So my objective now is to take Qigong, because not everybody can get acupuncture from me, as much as that would be a great thing. What I'm doing now is I'm training other people to be my replacements and my successors.
I love that. I'm so grateful that you stepped out and you explored something different. You utilized your self determination to say, I'm going to do things differently. You've talked a little bit about Asian medicine and about Qigong and Chinese and Tibetan medicine. Can you give us a better idea of what that actually entails?
Okay, so Persia invaded Egypt in 525 BC. They took that to India and mixed it in with Hindu medicine. The Greeks invaded Egypt in 330 BC, and they took that to China, and actually became Chinese medicine. And then the Romans got it, and they took it to Turkey. Turkey took it to Afghanistan, and Afghanistan took it to Tibet. Then in the 9th century, the Tibetans had medical contests where they invited people from all over the world to come and share their medical knowledge. And the Tibetans then reconglomerated all of the threads of Egyptian medicine that existed and put it back into one system that we call the Four Treatises, or rather what the Tibetans call the Four Treatises, but we call Tibetan medicine. And what I call is the reincarnation of ancient Egyptian medicine.
That's incredible. So it all begins in Africa, as as we know all other things do, and is appropriated like so much else of our culture. And that is not history that I have ever gotten. That is not history that I believe is commonly shared. So thank you for illuminating that for us. Um, as you speak about African medicine, can you talk more about African medicine and how it's sort of integrated into this holistic medicine approach, nature healing, and some of the retreats that you focus on?
Well, I had the good fortune of meeting a brother in Jamaica who had written his PhD thesis on how slave medicine became holistic medicine. So the overseer of the plantation, and I'm talking about the Caribbean, I'm not talking
Mhm.
about the US, this is Caribbean. The overseers would pick one guy on each plantation to become the medicine man. And he got a day off to plant herbs and prepare medicine. And then on Sunday after church, he actually held a clinic. So where did he get this knowledge from? Because he obviously, the slave master didn't teach him that.
Sure didn't.
Because he remembered how medicine was practiced in Mother Africa. So each plantation had its own doctor slash healer. So steam, sauna, cold plunge, herbal baths, waterfalls, all the herbal medicine, massage, colonics, everything that we could possibly think of as holistic in today's world was actually practiced on slave plantations in the Caribbean.
I can't even. I am so proud of my ancestors. A lot of times we think of slavery in the context of the struggle that it truly was. We don't understand the depth and the scope of how terrible that system was, but that also doesn't allow us to understand the brilliance and the amazing ability for our people to survive and to remain connected with the, like you said, the homeland, the motherland, and to keep that downloaded information. How is that passed along? Like I just am curious about those kinds of things, and I love that that you're sharing this with us, so
Mhm.
that we can put ourselves back in touch with that knowledge. I know that holistic medicine is one of those things that like I assign sort of as, yeah, that's for the white girls. That's what they do. They, take a day off from work and go to the spa and go to the sauna, those kinds of things, not realizing that my people came up with that and I deserve it too.
Absolutely. I was on an Indian, uh, I don't want to say reservation, but I was in
Hmm.
an area in Martha's Vineyard, which is in Massachusetts.
Uh-huh.
So the woman in the bookstore looks at me and says, "You're Native American." And I was like, now, of course, I'm dressed in African clothing. I'm wearing a dashiki, I got the African hat on, and she's calling me out for being Native American. I'm like, okay. I said, tell me something that I don't know about Native American health. And she said, you see that beach out there? She said, guess what we used to do? We would go to the beach and dig a hole and get in the sand up to our necks. And then we would take seaweed and we would exfoliate our skin with the seaweed. And then after we had cooked in the sand, then we would get out and we would go into the salt water and we would scrub salt water to exfoliate the skin. And she said, and these damn white people, they charge them $500 a day for what we taught them how to do. And I'm like, the whole spa industry?
The whole industry.
What?
Oh my goodness. I mean, and think of the financial impact to our people. Think of the financial impact to our people if we were in control of the spa industry with those remedies and those treatments that we know historically. I digress. I'm gonna get back on track, sir, with our questions, but I thank you for for that tidbit. So I have a question that leads us right back to our celebration of Kwanzaa tonight. How does self determination prevent the inherent racial bias that we find in our healthcare system? Um, you know,
Okay.
you have to care for yourself more than your provider, as it says on the screen. Let's talk this through.
Okay.
Well, about industries.
So up until 1950, it was illegal for white doctors to treat black patients. There was a law that was not repealed until 1950. Okay, just think about that. That's only 70 years ago.
It's not ancient history.
Not ancient history. So
No.
we weren't allowed. Okay. So the minute we got a little money, the minute we got a little bit of civil rights freedom, what's the first thing we did? Went right to the right doctor because we thought what they were doing was better than our hoodoo, herbal, natural healer doctors. We
Hmm.
thought they knew better. And so we jumped in both feet and we ignored the massage therapist. We ignored the colon therapist. We ignored the herbal remedies and we dove full in to the white people's experience. Now, fast forward, we find out that x-rays, not that great. MRIs, don't really tell us as much as we think they should. The CBC, which is the six-way blood test, only works when you're taking it every year, and then you have 3 years of blood tests to compare it to. Just taking a blood test is like taking a snapshot of you running. That's not going to tell you anything about what's really going on with you.
Hmm.
So we find over the decades that Western medicine really doesn't know everything that they claim to know. And they don't really have these powers. It's an inexact science. Pharmaceuticals, no. So why do we want to continue to go down that path? Now, they did a study with white doctors who said they were not racist. And they tracked them for 3 months. And they found out that they spent 15 minutes with their white patients, but they spent 6 minutes or less with their Black or Hispanic patients. So then they call the doctors in and they say, you said you weren't racist, but you spent almost triple the amount of time. Well, they asked a lot of questions. Okay. And the Black patients didn't ask any questions? No, they didn't. So why you didn't offer the information that the other patients had asked? I don't know.
Hmm.
Okay. So that means it's inherent because you don't know that you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It means that we have to ask questions. And we
Hmm.
don't know enough about our own bodies before we go to the doctor to ask the questions. And we're intimidated by authority and we're intimidated by white coats and stethoscopes. We're intimidated by that. So we get there, we go, okay, medication, okay, let me out of here.
Yeah. In
And,
a panic.
and the fact that Uncle Fred has been limping for 3 years. And when you finally get Uncle Fred to go to the doctor says, well, you should walk more. And then Uncle Fred said, yeah, but I can't because it hurts.
It hurt.
Got something for the pain? And now Uncle Fred's hooked on oxys.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
the whole system is not serving us. So with equal money and equal insurance, we don't get equal treatment.
Wow. Say that one more time.
With equal money and
Hmm.
equal insurance, we do not get equal treatment.
Hmm.
Okay. So they will offer white patients surgeries or experimental treatments that they don't even think about offering us.
Hmm.
They just like, yep, that's what we've been doing for 40 years. You're going to get the same. What, hasn't medicine advanced in the last 40 years? Yeah, but not in your case.
For everyone but you. Oh, Lord.
So we have to become self-determined, which is why I started the academy, the Blue Dragon Qigong Academy, to educate people about, hey, you have a musculoskeletal system.
Hmm.
You don't know that your bones have nerves and blood vessels and muscles and hormones. You didn't know all that was in your bones.
Mm.
Not because they didn't tell us.
Nope.
Weren't you intellectually curious enough to know? Why, no, I wasn't.
As
Because
long as, well, I find that in our community, as long as everything's working okay, as long as we feel all right, then we kind of go about our business, and we've been trained to struggle on, and you ignore that little thing in your shoulder, you ignore that little thing in your hip because, oh, I'm just getting older. Or oh, I must have tweaked it picking up the baby. And we tend to not pay attention to our body's cries. We tend to ignore what's happening, and we don't research it further. When we do get, a quick response from somebody, we figure we can just take their word for it.
exactly. Now, here's another interesting thing. If you go to any country in the world and ask them, tell me one thing about Africa, they're going to say African drumming and dancing. That's the one thing everybody in the world knows, drumming and dancing.
Hmm.
Now, you ask an African about drumming and dancing, what are they going to tell you? Not very much, because
Mm-mm.
if it's not a wedding or a funeral, they don't do it.
Hmm.
So they have lost their connection to African drumming other than just as a performance.
Wow.
So in my fantasy, everybody knows how to drum and everybody knows how to dance in Africa.
Right.
Not true. Not even close. Okay. So I meet an African dancer and I ask her how she got into African dancing. And she said, I was chosen by the village elders
Mm.
at age 13. And I'm the one who leads all the ceremonies. They don't get all the girls in the village, they select them.
Hmm.
They are the representation or the representatives to the deities that we worship or practice.
Hmm.
And I was like, whoa, you mean to tell me they select people and not everybody gets to do that? That's totally crazy. Well, in Qigong, we learn body drumming. Now, I know you've heard of Bobby McFerrin.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
One of my favorites.
right. Don't worry, be happy. Okay.
Yep.
So I learned body drumming from Bobby McFerrin before I learned body drumming from Qigong. So in Qigong, there's something that we do every single morning to wake up the body. And we bring blood to the surface of the skin. And we do that 3 times on each arm, 3 times on each leg. So you're
Hmm.
literally slapping yourself. Now, do you ever remember ham bone?
Ham bone, where you been? Around
Exactly.
the world and back again.
Exactly. So this body drumming, that's in our culture. So here we have Qigong, medical, and we've got African culture. Click. It's all right there.
Oh my
Now,
goodness.
when we stomp dance, because stomp dancing is something that we do. There's the Cherokee stomp dance. There's all kinds of stomp dancing. Well, African women don't get fibroid tumors. They don't get menstrual problems because they stomp dance and it creates a vibration that comes up the leg right to the uterus. Okay? Right to the uterus. So you're always creating this vibration, which means no coagulation, no toxins, no plaque can accumulate in the uterus because you're doing the stomp dance.
I can't even. I can't even. So every step team that our young girls are on, we need to continue to encourage them. Every African dance class we can get in.
Dancing, all of that
Mhm. Oh my
prevents
gosh.
health issues.
Wow.
Don't know that.
Mm-mm.
And for the seniors, you should be doing this at night. So down the outside, up the inside of the leg every night. 10 minutes, just body drumming, stimulates the blood flow.
Wow.
Emotionally, we are distressed because we feel hatred, we feel diminished, we feel demeaned, we feel emasculated, and we walk around with all these feelings from the outer culture. And recently, we stopped loving ourselves, so we don't even smile at the people in the hood. And I remember 10 years ago, Christmas time, everybody was smiling. This year, I didn't see anybody smiling. But how do you open your heart? Well, the only way to open your heart is to sing, because the diaphragm pushes the air out of the lungs to the vocal cords. So I want you to go, that opens the heart. And now put your fingers right on your upper lip and go, You feel that vibration there?
I
Now,
do.
down to the base of the skull and do M again. M. You feel it in the base of the skull. Now, the pituitary is right behind the forehead. So put your fingers right where the eyebrows meet, and so you're vibrating your skull. A-M-N. And what does that spell?
Amen. Amen.
So how do we bring the prayer that's in our heart to source energy?
Amen.
And if you're Jewish, what do you say? Amen. And if you're Muslim, what do you say? Amin.
Amen.
All three.
Wow. Yeah.
So all this exists within our culture, and not only do we not know it, the Africans in Africa don't know it either.
Well, it was stolen.
To bring this to the world. Thank you, Chanda.
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you're here. You're illuminating so much. And I know people are like, she got a Qigong, she got a Chinese medicine man up there on Kwanzaa. What is she? This is why. Y'all believe me now? Stay with me. We're gonna give you some more. So you have something called Self-Care Sunday for couples. You have Self-Care Sunday for couples. Tell us more about that, because you just told us about singing Amen. And I know that's something that has happened in every Black church in everywhere ever, right? So what else? What do we need to know about Self-Care Sunday?
Okay, so there was a time when the man went out and did all the work and the woman stayed home. There was a time. That time is long gone. So women work just as hard as men. So men need to know how to nourish women. Now, if you had a baby, you would bathe your child up until a certain age, 2, 3, 4, you bathe your child. So if you're a couple, I want the man to practice bathing the woman.
All right, Dr. Love, teach us.
Okay. Now, in this bathing, you're going to put lavender oil in the water. That's your aromatherapy. And you're going to use Castile soap by Dr. Bronner.
Okay.
And it doesn't foam a lot. And then you're going to use a natural sponge, not a loofah, because a loofah is actually a plant that grows on a tree. Loofah is not a sea sponge. I want you to get a real sea sponge, and then very gently back, shoulders, neck, sides of the legs while she's in the bathtub. And then big towel when she gets out. And then while she's face down, I want the man to press gently on the shoulder blades and then towards the center of the spine, all the way down to the base of the spine. And I want you to do that 5 times. Press, release, press, release, press, release. 5 times up, 5 times down. That's what I want the men to do for the women.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what are the women going to do for the men? The foot massage. The foot soak while she massages his fingers, because most men are using their fingers in a way that women don't. So if a woman massages each finger and massages the hands while the feet are soaking, and then take the feet out and massage the feet, and then straddle him and then massage his chest, because this is where a man holds his anger and his aggression is in his chest. So if a woman is straddling him and massaging him, what is that going to do with his hyper masculinity?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that is self-care Sunday.
Well, thank you for that. Self-Care Sunday is officially instituted in my home. I don't know about anybody else. Because I know that each of us, what you're saying is absolutely true. Each of us is carrying our stress in very, very different ways. I work outside the home. He works in addition to his other responsibilities to our community. And I know the stress and the tension that comes with that. And so if there is a way that we can work together to alleviate that for each other, then we need to take care of ourselves. We need to do that. Um, ooh, that's good, Dr. Love. Um, other than your daily Qigong classes, what other classes do you offer? What are some other things that you're going to be bringing to the world?
Well, the first thing is people always ask me about the ears, because I wrote a book in 1999 about ear reflexology.
Mm-hmm.
The last few months, people have been bugging me, reissue the book, come out with a next version of ear reflexology, because if you can massage your ears, or you can put magnets in your ears, or you can put microcurrent clips on your ears. There's all kinds of things you can do to learn how to heal yourself just through your ears. That's number one. Number two, we have raw food classes, because people, they kind of sort of know about raw food, but they don't really know the ins and outs.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been a raw food chef for 25 years. So
Oh,
I
wow.
love to teach people how to eat raw. In fact, 50% of your diet should be raw. Now, what else do you do before you start doing raw is you have to do seasonal detox. So January 8th through the 18th, we're doing a 10-day detox. So if anyone wants to learn how to detoxify from overeating between Christmas and New Year's,
It's me. It's me.
can do damage that takes 3 months to undo.
Ooh.
Damage can take 3 months to undo. I know you saw that movie, Super Size Me. That movie's like 20 years old. That guy
Mm-hmm.
is still suffering from health issues from just for 30 days, overeating for 30 days. He is still suffering. And he was
Wow.
his trainer before that. Okay, so whenever the seasons change, we do a 7-day juice feast. But if you've never feasted or fasted before, we have a preparation period. So we do a 3-day prep before we start the 7 days. So your 3 days prep includes fruit for breakfast, salad for lunch, and soup for dinner. No other food. That's it. Fruit, salad, soup. That's for 3 days. That's going to do is shrink your stomach so that you can then go into the 7 days of juicing. So you're going to juice 4 times a day: celery, carrot, beet, ginger, turmeric. And you're going to juice 12 ounces 4 times a day. So your stomach is going to be full. So you're not going to experience true hunger. And you're going to lose between 5 and 10 pounds in just 1 week.
Juicing is where it's at.
Nutrients without feeling starved.
Yeah, juicing is where it's at. I've heard so many things about, as you mentioned before, raw food diet and juicing, that, this is the way that our people are supposed to eat. This is the way that we eat, Fatback and collard greens are Easter and Christmas special things, not every day. And so that's very, very interesting to me. So we can go to 21daystowellness.com and get more information about that.
Right. Okay. So clearly our people have a history of overeating because of fear of starvation from the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And that's built in. In fact, in the South, I am told that women are attracted to large men because they know they won't miss any meals if they get married.
Well, I don't know about that one, Dr. Love, but what you've been told. And the South is a particular place for Black folks. I think about pre-Great Migration, and what's happening in the South is it's a bad situation. It's rough for a lot of people, and that is formative for so many families. Those behaviors, those thought patterns are formative for so many families as you move forward in time. There are so many things that we do just because Big Mama did it, and breaking those habits and breaking those cycles is something that is not easy, especially when we don't have the education around it.
Exactly.
Now, there's another class that you're going to be offering soon that I'm interested in. You spoke about the origin of medicine being in Egypt. Can you tell us more about your upcoming Kemetism class?
Chemetism.
Chemetism. Thank you.
Chemetism. So a lot of people have heard of the Hermetic principle or Hermes Trismegistus, or they might have heard Billy Carson talk about the Emerald Tablets, or Thoth or Tahuti. If you can see right over my head, there's Tahuti. And then on the other side is Imhotep, who's the Egyptian god of medicine. Tahuti taught Imhotep. So there's 4 parts to Kemetism, because Kemet is the name of the Black Land. Deseret is the name of the Red Land, which is the sand, the desert.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure desert comes from Deseret, but we're not going to quibble. So we have Kemet and we have Deseret. So Kemetism, Kemet flows down north. It's the only river in the world that flows down. So it comes from Ethiopia and Uganda, and the White Nile and the Blue Nile meet in Khartoum, which is Sudan. And that is the origin where the two become the one. But we are always focused on where the pyramids are, not on where the origin of the people. Okay? So part 1 is Hermeticism, or the 7 axioms of Tahuti. Part 2 is Ma'at. So on Judgment Day, you say the 42 negative confessions. I have not lied, I have not stolen, I have not murdered. And so you have to make all these statements on Judgment Day, and then your heart is weighed against a feather.
Mm.
Now, in the Christian tradition, we talk about Judgment Day, and you get called in front of St. Peter. Well, in Kemetism, you get called in front of Ma'at, which represents truth and justice. And you have to live your life a certain way so that you will be able to reincarnate. And if your heart is heavy because you have violated spiritual principles, then you will not be able to reincarnate. So the concept of heaven is to be reincarnated. You get to live your life again and do more good, positive things in the world. Whereas if you didn't, then you don't get to live at all, which some people would call purgatory.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the third part is the understanding that we are divine. So we are animal, we are human, and we're divine. We are the three in one.
Mm.
We are the holy if we claim it. Now, all of us are divine. 4:15 on Mondays, 3:17 on Tuesdays, 5:45 on Wednesday. All of us are divine at certain points in time. But
Mm-hmm.
the trick is, how do you string all those moments together so where you're divine 24/7 as opposed to 15 minutes a day when you go to church? Okay. So the fourth part of Kemetism is the science of immortality, because the whole point of being a Kemite is that you would be reborn in the West and live forever, everlasting life.
Mm.
So that's the fourth part. And that's where the Qigong comes into play, because Qigong is called the science of immortality. Whoa. Here's the Egyptians whose whole philosophy of living is immortality. And here's Qigong, which is the science of immortality. So Kemetism 101, you need to take that course. It's 13 Sundays, and we will put the link in somewhere where you can register for any of those courses.
Absolutely. We'll include all of that information so that people can get the education. There's a few other things that I want to just talk about. We've talked a lot about Qigong and Tai Chi, and I know that for many folks, especially brown and black people my age, there is a certain picture in our head. There's a certain image in our head of what that looks like. And I just want you to talk a little bit about like the fact that it looks a little bit different when you're practicing with Dr. Love. So talk to me a little bit about Qigong and the Qigong rap and the dance and all of the cool stuff that you are doing, that brings you as a black man into the practice.
Did you have the clip? This is why
I do have clips and I'll drop them in, but let's chat about it and then I'll drop
about
them
it.
in.
Okay. So there's 14 internal exercises. So at the end of each class, we end with meditation, 5-minute standing meditation. So my students said, you should end on an up note rather than just silent and just walk away. We should end with a dance. And I'm like, really? So it took me about 3 months before I got motivated to actually make up a dance. And that dance was called This Is Why I'm Hot, because I do Qigong. So the song is 20 years old. I'm sure you've heard of it. This is why I'm hot, because I do Qigong. So I made the song first, and then this patient of mine said, I'd like to help you with your Qigong. What can I do? So I said, I made the song, but I need a video. She says, oh, I'm the perfect person. I'm a theater person. And so she got
We'll get it done.
And we shot this video. It took us 3 weeks to shoot the video. We had 9 different locations. It took more than a week just to edit it.
Yeah.
And it took off. And
It's brilliant. It's so much fun. And just to see you, like you said, just like old school street corner freestyling through some of this stuff and still teaching the movements. And the movements are simple, they're straightforward. It's you say dance and that sort of is off-putting to some people, or um you say qigong and that's sort of off-putting to people. But when you see these simple movements and you realize like moving your body in this way can help you survive, it puts things into a context that, give it a shot. We have to try new things. We have to self-determine for ourselves that, it's okay for Black people to do Qigong. It's okay for Black people to do Tai Chi. That is a thing for us. And I think that you have helped so much.
Universal. We started martial arts. We had the biggest armies. You have to have training to be in the army. You can't just take a farmer off the plow and put a sword in his hand and say, go fight. It's got to be training.
Yeah. Yeah, clearly. And good training, regimented training,
Yes.
which speaks to the level of discipline that also is within us and within our culture. There's so much to us, so much to be proud of, and so much to be grateful for. And I am proud of you and grateful that we have you as a member of our community. The knowledge and the wealth of wisdom that you have and that you've shared with us just today is tremendous. And I'm so appreciative.
Well, thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Each one reach one, each one teach one.
Absolutely. And so tonight, do you have any closing thoughts about how Kwanzaa plays a role in your day-to-day life? Not only this principle, but all the others.
Well, I have 2 favorite talk show hosts. One is Karen Hunter.
Mm-hmm. Love
the
her.
other, Reed Daniels Favor. Reed Daniels Favor. And they start their show with the principles of Kwanzaa. And I have a very close friend. He's a builder in the Black community. So he buys houses that are in bad shape, knocks them down, and rebuilds them. And he lectures on the street corner, just like a street corner minister. He talks about the principles of Kwanzaa. And Kujichagulia is one of his favorite things to talk about because he was a retired military officer and took on a second career in his late 60s to rebuild houses. And he's pushing 80 now. And he's a drummer. So whenever I feel discouraged, I start thinking about my brother Shango, and he's out building houses. I'm like, what?
I love it. I know you said that brother is pushing 80. Do you mind sharing what you just achieved?
Oh, I just turned 74 a month ago. And for 74, I'm in really great shape.
You're in extremely great shape. And when I drop these clips in and everybody sees you moving and rapping and dancing on the beach at sunrise, I think they're gonna be impressed. You're gonna be impressed. And not just physically, but like mentally, you're so sharp, you're right on it. And at 74, that is a blessing.
Well, again, thank you for that. We're going to be doing a New Year's Day sunrise Qigong
Oh wow.
with that community in Hollywood, Florida. And
I love that.
to people, see if we can get that live streamed or at least recorded and uploaded.
That would be so fantastic. I love dancing along with you here in my living room. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she hears it playing, and she'll come jump in and join mommy.
Mhm.
Um, it's just so much fun, and it's been a way to connect to her also. And I'm hoping that, these little things, as I'm sure you were impacted by watching your aunt who was a yogi.
Mhm.
um, it was ingrained in you from a young age. It didn't start in your adulthood. You didn't randomly pick up on these things. These things were taught to you as a young person. And so I'm hoping to be a good example for my daughter, and for the other children in our community, so that they can catch these things now, and they don't have to wait and get some of those hard knocks and those hard lessons. They don't have to suffer with bad health and have to try to recover it.
Mhm.
um, they can start these practices while they are young and in good health, and help to perpetuate them forward.
Mhm. That's a really, really good point. Because we work, 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 and then we get sick, and then we spend all our money trying to get healthy again when you could have been doing it all along.
Hmm.
So, loveqigong.com if you want to join the class, and go to 21days to wellness.com if you want to get in on the seasonal fasting, uh, 10 days from January 8th to the 18th.
Awesome. Well, I thank you, sir, for the time you have spent with us. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give Dr. Love another round of applause virtually from wherever you are. You can follow him on Instagram at Dr. Chi Love, and on TikTok at Dr. Chi Love. Make sure you are spelling Chi QI. Okay. This gentleman has been gracious in sharing his time. We are going to support you by reaching out and following on social media, by enrolling in your classes. I know Blue Dragon Medical has a store on there. We're going to go get some stuff to make sure that we are bringing health and wholeness into our homes. And again, sir, thank you so much for joining us for a Kwanzaa celebration. We are so happy to have you.
Thank you again. And I'll see you in the ethers.
In the ethers. I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Love.